He's so crestfallen. He's so upset.
I know. Well,
I don't know,
let's dive in. This is a 34-year-old man. Now it says out of Mumbai, but that could just be from where the journalist is from. This is out of the Indian Express. They were on their way to Kalsubai, which is a popular peak that people like to climb and hike to. And they were driving there. So this man that was driving there was driving two other passengers. I believe, Adam, if you remember the story, one of the passengers, the guy who was driving him, used to be an employee of his, but he had to let go because of the lockdowns, but then retained him as a driver, is what I read in the details.
Oh, I didn't read that detail, but it's interesting.
It's just an interesting fact.
It is. It is interesting. Okay.
So he fired the guy he worked with, and he rehired him to drive him around?
Yes, like personally. So he lost his job at the company. But
you can be my personal driver.
Yes.
I guess.
Sure. That sounds right.
Sure. So they were headed to this peak. I mean, you can't drive to the peak. They were headed to the place where they were going to go hike up and trek. And they got a little lost at around 1:45 a.m. in the morning. And so the driver decided, okay, let's figure this out. Let's use Google Maps. Popped Google Maps onto his phone.
Oh my gosh.
You know it.
Oh,
you know it.
my
gosh.
So earlier,
I know what's going to happen.
Before this, we kind of talked about this story, but we didn't say any details at all.
No details.
But we
were
just
given
said
to me.
it's very much like The Office scene.
Yeah. And so when you said The Office, the first scene that came to my mind is when Dwight throws that watermelon off the top of the roof onto the trampoline. I was like, oh my gosh, someone's going to jump on a trampoline off a roof or something like that. But the moment you said driving with Google Maps, I was like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen here.
Right.
So he literally turned onto a bridge and drove into water.
He turned onto what he thought was a bridge.
What he thought was a bridge.
Dam.
But he drove into a dam.
Is he just looking at the map while he's driving and just like following it?
Right into
Yep, that's right.
And they drowned.
But the thing is, the passengers got out. The driver didn't know how to swim, so
he didn't
drowned.
make it.
No.
Well, he's the one who drove him into the water.
I know.
He deserves
Well,
to die.
there is a side note here. I guess the bridge is open like 10 months out of the year, and then for a couple months they open the dam and let the water go through. So maybe Google Maps
it's covered
didn't,
with water.
Maybe Google
you
Maps didn't
scratch
update that in India. But wouldn't you look?
Well, it's dark.
He just drives right into the water.
You're driving lights on? I don't understand.
I imagine him going at 50 miles an hour. Just right
turn left here, okay?
It says, don't argue with me.
I imagine the passengers in the backseat. You shouldn't turn here. This is where it says to turn.
This is exactly what Dwight and Michael were arguing. It knows where it's supposed to go. That's fantastic. Well done.